Good evening and welcome back to another edition of Beyond the Backstage Pass. I am your host, Vince Edwards. You may know me from Sound Image Productions. I also have a couple closed roadie groups on Facebook, one called Death by Loadout, and another one called The Backstage Pass. Come check us out. This evening with me is my dear, good friend and co-host, Kyle Thomas. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, Vinny. Good to see you, brother.
It's really good to see you, man. We can't skip around the idea of what we just did before this cool-ass thing we're about to do. Like,
true.
super cool.
This is true.
Yeah, I'm kind of all crazy with this day. I've been working on this one for like the whole time, and yeah, this is going to be fun. But we did just have a really great meeting with next week's guest, who we've put in the can, with John Ostrin. That was absolutely a treat. I mean, what a sweetheart, right?
He's such a nice guy.
It's crazy, man. Because I'm from the old day of the grumpy sound guy, and and we used to be kind of precious about our styles and our makes and our, and he's so different then. He's the peanut butter sandwich guy,
Seriously.
It's just, I love that guy.
He showed me
fun.
A lot of love on tour, and I respect him a great deal.
I think he means it when he says, he's done Van Halen, he's done all the great bands, for Toto, everybody, all these great bands. But I think when he says he's his exact word, I think, I'm there for life with John Legend. I thought that was very interesting. I mean, John Legend's an extraordinarily talented guy, and he's extreme, just the consistency, and I get it, but I always known him to be a little more nomadic, and so that's kind of saying something.
Well, it's like the crew there, their camp is so solid. All the guys are really nice and just genuinely well-talented dudes.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of whole issues that he deals with, so
It's
I can see just coming in the brief time that I was there and how he works with the band and production is really impressive.
Well, most of his career, he's a front of house guy. That's his history. And so for the last few incarnations to be a monitor guy, which is, to me, I've always felt they're very different positions. They're almost like a different personality type. Totally. And for him to be able to pivot like that and to love it, because to me, that's the hot seat. That's where the work's happening. And but I imagine it with a band like, a bunch of hired guns like John Legend's rolling with. He's not playing with any, amateurs. And he's kind of a badass in his own right. So I imagine that goes pretty well. So
Yeah.
It's got to be a great gig. I can see why you're SE on that. And again, I stepped to him. I said, "Tell me what the kid did wrong. I will smack him around. I need
Put me
to
on
know.
blast.
I'm not putting him on another tour. He was misbehave on this last one. It was funny. And he loved you guys. It was great. When we were at lunch, he was carrying on about your work. So right on, you could be proud about that.
Awesome, yeah. Total sweetheart. Same with the front of house guys. So it's such a nice.
Lozier, John, we had him on last week. Fucking the best. Really talented guy.
I would like to give some shout outs to our sponsors. Like you were mentioning, Diablo Digital has supplied us with a lot of good equipment over in the back there that Mikey's running. We got Gallagher, John Del Rio at Gallagher Staging has been lovely enough to give a lot of equipment as well. Large screen video, still got to show you guys some love. And of course, Sound Image, just for housing us all. It's much appreciated, and it doesn't go unnoticed. We couldn't do this without you. So,
well, if you're going to bring that many people into it, and let's remember Diablo Digital, probably our biggest supporter next to Sound Image. That's Greg Price and Brad Maddox's outfit right here in the building, and they give us so much love. I think I'm touching one of their microphones right now. I mean, like, seriously, it's ridiculous, and I don't think we would have got her. Scoville was my first guest. Brad Maddox and Greg were my second and third guests. Coming out of the gun like that, pretty hot. Yeah. It wasn't the greatest idea, it turned out, because our technology sucked back then. It was these three badasses on the audio's all screwed up, so we brought them all back. But that's a lot of love. So let's throw that out there. But let's not forget Mr. Hat, our logo people,
Hat.
our graphics guy, Sweet Treatments, who's Prince's design. I mean, and she's our set looks like what it does because we have these influence. I'm a fucking audio guy,
except
man.
for the knives.
I don't.
Jackie,
I know what
I'll
it's supposed to sound
you.
like. I don't do the rest of it.
Jackie, I'll defend you. We'll say that the
She
knives
did not provide the knives. There was an
idea.
argument about should there be this many knives, and I was like, yeah. And she's like, what about a plant? And I'm like, Jackie, I have knives. Back up, So that I won that fight.
Sure
and
that's
just how it's going to go, I love her though. She's wonderful, and we couldn't do it without the support of all these wonderful people.
Yeah. And I'd also like to thank, a couple of people that watch all the time. Charlie Zaricki, Patrick Eigenman just chimed in, Pat O'Doul.
Did I see Howard Hager's name there?
Howard Hager. I think you guys might be related to
That's very cool. We'll have to remember that. Okay, so it's all of them. Pat, you got to come down here. Pat O'Doul, come down and get your swag, buddy. Charlie, hey, baby. That's the godfather of our show. We couldn't make it happen without him. There's the LD to the stars, Tony Lewis.
Sue Kearney saying hello.
That's crazy.
Hi,
Hi, Sue. Yeah, great job on the new car. You got to love our people. And, you know, I got to say, because he sees us on another technology in Peacock. Dude, staying up till 3 o'clock in the morning.
Peacock, you're the
in
legend.
Great Britain and the people in Nova Scotia and the Japan. We love this. This is super fun. We do this for you guys.
Oh, dude, and Noah, of course. We got
Noah the Beard
give
Tanner.
love to Noah.
Sorry, Noah. He's going to end up out here working with us. I'm going to make that happen.
We put the ear out for you.
I have plans, and he's a badass. And then and then my lovely, adoring love of my life, the woman that I live for, Jackie Canterbury. Thank you, guys. Honey, listen, I got to do this show, baby. And you, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Mikey Brown, for doing it. It's a team effort. We make it happen. I've got, I think, the hardest show I've ever done or ever about to do. I put the most time into this. These guys, I'm fascinated by both of them for different reasons and in amazing ways. I share the commonality that they're brothers in the game. And I happen to have a brother
like you. Oh my God.
that I work with. And he's an amazing human being. And I mean that from my heart. But, it's brothers, man. And me and him are pretty, frisky. So, there's been some full straight up knockdown dragouts to get to the truth. And it's just so I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated the arc of a career of this vast. I got a guy that came up through pure, honest rock and roll, the love of playing guitar and music. He's played with the Reynolds. He's worked with, I'm so getting in his tree about this one, Tracy Bonham. That chick, so many people don't get that, and that chick rules. And I think I got to talk to you about that. He's also there's the little aside that he plays guitar and boards for this band called Devo, and I heard they've done good things. So
I think I heard of them.
It's Josh Hager's here this evening with his amazing brother. Not like seriously, dude. Okay, Paul David Hager. I don't know how to explain this to you people, but I'll do this. So you've seen me do this a couple times before. I can't really do it right. Goo Goo Dolls, Miley Cyrus, Beck, St. Vincent, Devo, album after album. I think 60, over 50 of the most amazing productions. Selena Gomez. The list is so long. It's crazy. Hoobastank. I mean, it's so diverse. I got to get in his head. Like, what is the process? How do you pick your? So we're gonna do this. I'm really excited to have you both on, guys. Good evening. How are you? Hello, Mikey. Can we? Do we hear him?
Yeah, you got me?
Yeah, you guys are good. Listen, now this is live. Now, none of my friends, Pooch and Rybold and Pooch and Tater, none of them do this live. I do it live because I like the pain.
Exactly.
So, all right, bear with me. It's so great to have you guys on. I write these things out usually. A little prepared thing. I want to do well. There was just no way. There's no way. I couldn't. But there's so much here. There's so much beef. You guys have had such an amazing career kind of side by side and, of course, very distinct and different from each other, but in the live, in the music industry. It's absolutely fascinating to me. I got to ask, so from a being and brother dynamic, I'm going to address you individually and sometimes as both, okay? And you can jump around in the answers. I wanted to start with Josh as a younger brother, because I am. How'd you guys get along when you were growing up? You got to be honest. Because I'm a younger brother. I know.
We most of the time we got along.
Yeah.
I probably was a bit of a pest, because I'd show up to his rehearsals, and when they'd take a little break, I'd sneak in there and start playing his guitar and stuff.
Yeah. And he would take umbrage to that, I imagine.
He did pull a tree out of the ground and beat me with it once.
Awesome. That's a great story. My brother shot me in the head. It took like 4 years to get the BB out. I was like, yeah, that's whole. I've stabbed him. We're terrible. All in
I always say Paul's the nicest guy in the world. Just don't get him mad.
Isn't that just like anybody though? I mean, come on.
I guess
most of us have some of that, and nobody's going to keep that closer to us than our brothers. I got to follow it up with you again, Josh. I'm sorry, but I don't do this. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to bounce around a little bit because there's just many fascinating things, but I want to do it between you and your brother. But I got to ask you, how the hell? I mean, I know I've seen your work. I've worked with you. We've put up racks and stacks for you guys. You're a great guitarist. You're very good at what you do. How did you get with Devo, buddy?
Let's see. So I guess that started with me working with Jerry on the Jihad Jerry record, and then coming in and helping out with something for everybody in the studio, just sort of helping out, like comping vocals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then just I was a huge Devo fan, and I put it in his ear basically. If you ever need me, I'm here. Just call me, let me know. And they did.
That's fantastic. What a great story. I mean, living the dreams. I know that, we were talking before, and I don't think a lot of people, maybe they do, maybe I'm wrong, but I wasn't aware of this until the mid-'90s, that Devo was a band since 74. And that's, to me, and I think we worked together, 2 or 3 years back. I mean, to see you guys still killing it and still bringing a great show. Like, Mother's Bra is, consummate badass. I don't know what to say other than he's got a distinct take on it, and he brings the show, man. It's super good. So it's got to be, a great pleasure at this part in your life to be working with one of the really legendary acts in rock and roll.
It is, and they're a band of brothers. They're two sets of brothers.
Yeah.
So
it's a sweet arrangement.
Family.
I can, well, isn't that funny? So you two, us two, them two. Wow, I guess it happens more than I thought, because I don't see this very often. It's usually, and even when people know that I work with my brothers, they're like, don't you guys kill each other? And it's like, no, that's, it's child's play. That's super way 20 years ago. It's so good for you guys. I got to ask Paul, having mixed, and I mentioned a bunch of the albums and bands you've worked with Van Halen to Switchfoot. I didn't mention Switchfoot or Katy Perry or Pink. Like, it's ridiculous, really, dude. And Goo Goo Dolls. How do you pick a recording project as something? What's the criteria to get you to mix an album?
I mean, some of it comes from my manager, brings it to me. And some of it is from doing live sound for, like, the Goo Goo Dolls. I did live sound for before working in the studio with them.
Yeah.
And then it's funny because at one point I had 2 separate careers, like where I did live sound for certain bands, and then I had a studio thing for certain bands. And it's kind of funny because some people knew me from one side and not the other, and vice versa. And it was really funny when I met ML originally. God rest his soul.
Yeah.
He didn't know that I had a live sound background. He just thought I was a studio guy because that's the credits that someone brought up to him.
Sure.
And then when I had a meeting with him and I was talking to him and talking about live sound technology, and recited every piece of the Prism rig that at that time was secret, he like freaked out.
Yeah, like he was
He
like,
was
okay, this
wait,
guy knows.
how does the studio dude know how, what each color and what the drivers are and all that stuff?
Right.
Crossover points, and it kind of freaked him out a little bit. But it's kind of come to a point now where they both merged together. Because I did tour for a while, then I gave up that and went to Nashville and did more recording stuff. And then when I moved out to LA, I kind of just did both. And I don't know, I just kind of mix. I mean, if it's something I like, it has to be stuff I like and people I like to work with, on the touring side. And if it's music I like I will not take a tour or do a record with something that I don't think I'm going to bring something to the party, And I feel like with touring too, it's like, I know people who will take any gig because and then to me, it's like, it's got to be the right gig. It's like, if I don't like certain kinds of bands, I don't know how to mix, I think. And I think there's other people that are better at that. And I'd rather they mix, like someone mix a band they like that I might not like,
Sure.
And it's just, I think it's more enjoyable that way,
Well, there's no two ways about it to have that luxury. I think at this point in your career, you can probably pick and choose where you go, I imagine. But, in the early days.
Early on.
Yeah.
But even early on, I kind of picked stuff where it's like, I can bring something to them.
Yeah.
I felt like I've always thought if I'm not bringing anything to the party, I shouldn't be at that party. Need to be at a different party.
It's a totally reasonable and sound logic, and I totally get it. I don't want to jump right into controversy right away, but it's a way to kind of talk to both of you over a subject that is immediate and happening now. I'm not sure it's been resolved. I think the last time I checked, anyway, still out on the voting table, as it were. we got Beck, who you've worked with, and I think most of us have worked with. He was a prolific young guy in this time. He's played pretty much everywhere and everything, and is an extraordinary cat. I mean, as guys go, he's kind of the white prince or something. I don't even know how to put it, but he's a badass. And then, of course, the wonderful and amazing Devo, who have been doing this forever, consistently killing it, bringing the new, bringing the unique, I mean, it's Devo, man. I don't know what the hell you could say. And Mother's Bra in his own right with the Rugrats and all of his things in the movies. It's extraordinary, extraordinary. They're both going up into the voting block for the Hall of Fame. How is this going to wash out? I see we're up against this with a few other folks, and I have a feeling. Tell me what your feeling is on this subject, because this is an interesting subject to me.
I mean, Devo should have been in a long time ago.
Right?
The fact that they only came up for a vote the first time was last year, I think.
I'm not sure.
With like their first time coming up to be for the fan vote part. And then, I mean, Beck, they both have a right to be in there. I mean, Beck's been around since early, like 91, you know? It's like, it's hard to realize that 91.
That is like 30 years ago now, right? It's kind of
well, there was a Beck show
crazy.
I did.
Yeah.
We did a thing for like some clothing company that he sponsors, and
cool.
And right in front of me, he was taking a picture he had Courtney Love on one arm and Lady Gaga on the other arm.
Wow.
And I said to our lighting girl at the time, I said, you know what? He was big during each of their eras, but neither was big during, like the two girls. He was big during Courtney Love's era. He was big during Lady Gaga's era now.
True. That is.
I mean, he's just as big now as he was then. Like he really. I mean, the scope of what he's done and the records and
it's pretty amazing. Midnight Vultures is a crazy album. Like it's super good. That's a crazy
But then he'll come out with like an all acoustic record, the next one.
Yeah.
Like it's still mind blowing. It's like
he's a deep
on
cat.
another planet.
Yeah. Well, you know, some people are they just hear the music, you know, and he's like you're kind of a gearhead, you know. You're mentioning knowing the Prism and all the amazing outboard you got behind you. You know your shit, and you know what it does, and you love it, and you can work on it, and you can make it do what it's supposed to do. I always felt like that was Beck. There's Lenny Kravitz is like that. There's a couple guys that can just do it all. Billy Corgan's known to do this. Maybe Sands drums, but where Lenny plays the drums. But Beck can do anything. He's kind of limitless, I've always felt like, and so I get it. Yeah. But when you say, and you said this, Josh, I'm here for you, baby. You said 91. Now I forget that it is 30 years ago, because it is 30 years ago. You get old, you know, it all blends together. I know you can
31 years ago.
Yeah, right. But Devo is 74 and consistently killing it. Like I don't remember a break from him. I don't remember them stepping out. You know, I know you've done 2 albums with him, and I think you and your brother did these together in some ways. You know, mix and produce. It's fascinating to me, and I'm going to put my chips out there. Now, I didn't do this at the beginning, but you know, and I think you said it best. But it is ridiculous that they're not in there already. It's crazy. So for them to be passed over,
and they're from Ohio.
Thank you. All right. Come on now. So with that said, I'm rooting just from my heart's place for Devo because of what they've given to the world, what they are, how they've changed. I mean, just culturally, the art, the sensibility of Devo, the whole, it's next level shit. You got to give it to that, you know. And they're kind of a musical movement in their own right. You know, like I never considered them new wave. I never considered them punk rock. I knew both of those things really intimately, especially punk rock, and they certainly weren't that. But they're like better in so many ways. It's just like cool ass electric rock and roll. I don't know what to say about it. I put that shit on and just get bathed. It's extraordinary. Love Devo.
I mean, even that.
I'm sorry.
Are you still there?
Okay.
I'm here.
I was going to say, even there, you know, they were like a guitar band, synth band. Yeah. Drum machine band, like across, you know, there's people in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame now that were influenced by them. You know, Absolutely. That's kind of sad.
It's well, there's no fairness in the world. We know that, and then it's just kind of an arbitrary process, obviously, because if you look at some of the people that are still not included in this roster, I mean, there's some legendary who's who of rock and roll that are somehow not in this clique yet. So maybe we shouldn't take it too seriously, but it is an interesting subject for people that are close to it to contemplate.
If they both get in, I can double dip too.
Well, I know, yeah, you. Right? I would think this, you're probably precluded from the voting, right? Because you're just like too close to it. Well, you know, good for you. It's a great problem to have. Absolutely. You guys, the band. I know that Josh, you put you know, I wish I was a voting member because I'd vote twice. You know, as we know, apparently you can do that in this country. Massive voting fraud. That's a joke because I didn't believe in any of that. But it really, in something like that, I wish we could. How's the? Is there any way you can, Josh, that you can kind of monitor the response to this? You guys have any idea where it stands?
Yeah, when you vote, it shows you the tally afterwards. I think we're way down there. We're like halfway down the list. I think at the top right now, Eminem's killing it.
Okay, that's insane. Okay, whatever.
Dolly Parton's killing it.
She should be there.
Who else is up there? I can't remember. But at the very bottom is MC5, New York Dolls, and Fela Kuti.
Okay, so let's talk about that just for a quick second.
The Dolls,
You can't do that to the MC5. The Dolls are, forget that. The MC5, that's a seminal band that is formative to rock and roll as we know it. Heavy metal, I mean, the influences with the MC5, and you know why they're not getting a better vote? Because people don't know who the MC5 are. They aren't down with the Detroit sound. You know, this is pre-Kiss. These guys kill, like, extraordinary. It shows you when you said that an extraordinary artist, Eminem, that guy's crazy good. It's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, man. He's a kid, basically, all right? He's done extraordinary things. He's consistent as hell. Dr. Dre is an amazing music guy. But to say that MC5 is on the bottom and Eminem's on the top, it shows there may be, in fact, a problem.
Well, I think it brings up...
band-based one, too, just to make sense. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it brings up the subject of what is rock and roll, really, at this point. You know what I mean?
Well, I know you have a very diverse musical interest in kind of eclectic, kind of electronic keyboard bass. I've read some of your stuff, and I don't think you're right. I get where you're going with that. There is no proper answer to that. Like I said to you earlier, when we had learned from punk rock to move on to, I think one of the things that pissed off my friends the earliest in the early 80s is when I found out Duran Duran shredded, like we're amazing, that John Taylor was incredible. And so I put a 4x4 poster of them on my wall around all this punk, everything, not a square inch punk rock flyers, punk rock, everything. My friends had a heart attack over that. So I had to start in that moment and say, dude, I'm sorry, man. When I hear that shit, my butt starts moving. That's rock and roll, dude. That's all I know. So I think that's the way to do it, is by feel, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
I remember a quote from my friend Joan Wasser. She said, beauty is the new punk rock. Because, you know, it's whatever you're rebelling against, whatever you're grinding against.
You couldn't be more right. That's so true. And this has been an incarnation, you know, and we all think our punk rock was the punk rockiest, but you know, reggae, that's a protest movement. There's, you know, there's on and on and on. He mentioned the New York Dolls. That is so New York. I can't think of a more New York band other than maybe Lou Reed, you know. It's like, that's New York. Right. Or maybe Joe Jackson. I love what he does. You know, he's incredible. Those other two bands, that's more of an acquired thing. But man, you couldn't, Lou Reed's definitely in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's got to be. I mean, and
Judas Priest is on the list. Judas Priest is down there below us, I think.
Okay, Judas Priest. Let's be fair. God, we got to get out of this subject. Judas Priest, love him or hate him, those guys, British Steel. Oh, come on, stop it. They should have been.
That's rock and roll.
That's not rock and roll. KK Downing. I mean, seriously, that's ridiculous. That's crazy that Judas Priest is on the list. No, Judas Priest should be in there with the whole corner of the building. It's friggin' insane, man. All right. There's no fairness. We've just discovered that. I wish Devo the best of luck. You guys kill it. You've been entertaining me forever. That guitar solo in Mr. DNA, right between Smart. You know that? You know I'm talking about Miss Smart Patrol. Oh my God, dude, that is. You take one note out of that guitar solo, and then the whole thing falls. It's perfect. It's like a perfect Elliot Easton like killer. Oh, it's insane. So good. Sorry, brother.
Then there's the 2x4 solo.
Is that? I've always thought.
The 2x4 just plays one note and then breaks the strings on it.
You know what? I always thought it was hard to be the guitarist in Devo because Devo does what they do so good, and there's such an emphasis on the drum and the boards that the guitarist is nailing it back there. It's like Alex Lifeson, you know? You're playing with these other insane cats, so Alex is kind of just in the shadows over there. But I swear to God, you take any part of Alex out of any Rush song, it ain't Rush anymore. I mean, it's he's an extraordinary technician, and that's why I feel like the guitarist in Devo, to be at Devo level, is got to do. And I know I've personally seen your brother do it and kill it, and it's absolutely a beautiful thing to see. I wish you the best luck on the Rock and Roll Hall.
Not easy.
Oh, dude, you got the look, and you kill that, dude. You kill it with it. Yeah, I love it. And I had one of the red hats forever, and I swear to God, that was one of my most precious things. And my friend's dog came in and broke it. Oh my God, I almost killed that dog.
Oh, we got to get you a new one.
It's iconic, dude. That is rock and roll, dude.
Seriously.
So awesome. Paul and David recording the Devo albums together. I want to be accurate about this, so I think it was something for everybody. And I'm not sure if you actually worked on two together. I think there was some post work for the Duty Now for the Future, some like extra hits for a bonus track and a re-record. Can you guys tell me about?
We recorded.
What's that?
Well, I did a live record with them that it was a show at the Ritz where they played the first record in its entirety, and they married that with the re-release of the first record.
Oh, no kidding.
So it's like the first side is the studio recordings, and then the back side is the live mixes from this show they did at the Ritz in London.
Wow.
But what's weird is I get credited on there, as mix engineer, but on all credits.com and stuff, it says I worked on the record in 1974 when I was 7 years old.
So you're saying you didn't?
I didn't do the recording.
I know.
It's just
You
funny.
and Brian Eno.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. I wouldn't try to correct that if I was you.
But I think that was the first studio thing I did with the band properly before, because I did a record with Jerry that Josh came in and played some guitar on and synths on.
Yeah, cool.
For his Jerry thing, and then as we moved along, and then we were taking demos that they were doing and making them into what would turn into that record.
Yeah,
and that's why Josh came in to kind of deal with the vocals, because it's like he was always a fan of Devo. I always liked Devo, but I was into Rush and more prog rock stuff.
I hear you. I get it. Yeah,
and that was more because I was that kind of guitar player. But then I got the magic of Devo later than Josh did. But he knows Devo more than they know themselves, kind of, if that makes sense.
Oh, I totally get it, because I mentioned to your brother pre-show, and Joshua, tell me this is not true. I said, yeah, dude, fucking when I was coming up in the hardcore punk rock days in the early 80s, it was like verboten to be down with Devo, because it was a misinterpretation of what lane they're in, and we were so precious about being hardcore and blah, blah, Minor Threat and all that silliness. But, it is what it had to be to make that thing be what it was and came out to be. It's an extraordinary moment in rock and roll. I love that was something that I had in my early youth. But Devo, I came to around 85, 86, because I was resistant to them. And I think it was a thing that was almost natural. It was like them against us, and the understanding of this whole labeling of music. I still don't know what I was mentioning. Josh, you got to help me with this. Maybe it's just a need of the human mind to be able to ascribe a label or a tag. But what would Devo be called in the musical genre? What lane did they operate in? I like to think of them as just kind of electrified rock and roll. They're not new wave to me. They're not punk rock. Maybe I'm wrong. Correct me.
Well, it's an odd combination. I mean, there's definitely soul. It's like robotic soul music,
Yeah, I can feel that. He's not wrong, dude. If you really get into there's a deep, funky boogie, almost. I don't even know how to say it, man. It's a sensibility that you guys own only.
Like if you listen to Satisfaction, that was them doing reggae.
Wow, and that is that's so
Yeah.
yeah. That's I could feel the guitar in that, but the way they broke up the movements in that, so it was so like glitchy. That is a classic. It's rare for me, and I'm going to own this right now. It's rare for me when the original version and a cover version overlap each other, and now when I hear Satisfaction, I don't think of I think of the Devo. Absolutely, 100% without any question. It's amazing. Yeah, that's a great song. Do you know Satisfaction by Devo?
Oh, totally.
Yeah, you get that around you, man. Play that every day. It's great. So do you guys play that live once in a while?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that's played every time.
Yeah, that's got to be a crowd favorite, and I bet you it's fun to play.
It's
Even like Whip It is Pretty Woman.
What?
dun, 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 dun.
I never thought
It's a
of
Pretty
that.
Woman lick, but they did their
They
thing.
put a-
That was their
They put a
interpretation.
pause in there, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. That's
But
awesome.
instead of going dun 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 dun, it's going dun 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 dun.
Oh, that's so great, dude. I love
Yeah.
that. See, this is inside rock and roll right here. This is, that's what this is called, Beyond the Backstage Pass. We got that little page group. It's silly, we put shit up. But this is where we dig in deep with the people that do it and know some of the stories from behind it. So that's precious. That's awesome, man. You guys are absolutely, you're national treasure. I mean that now from my heart. This is a band that I've been listening to for 40 years plus, and so good. So very good. All right, well, that had to be
The
a lot
funny
of
thing
fun.
is if you ripped it apart, Jerry's into R&B and soul, and Mark's into the more artsy kind of, like he puts his twist on Jerry's trying to pull R&B and soul in, and Mark brings this other thing, and they mix it together, and that's what you get,
Well, I think the two Bobs are the glue, though, that kind of hold it together, Totally underrated guitar players, both of them.
Yeah. Well,
Bob 1, Bob 2.
I think you guys are finally get the well deserved recognition of being one of America's best bands, and it's to be together that long. It's ZZ Top kind of level accomplishment to be largely the same band killing it for this long. It's a special thing. Paul, I know you did recently with the mixing. Well, maybe correct me if I'm wrong. The New Year's Eve broadcast for Miley Cyrus, I think, was with Pete Davidson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, that's got to be a tricky date. You got a comedian and a high-strung young lady on New Year's Eve. How was that? Was that?
Oh, it was fun. It's like, I only had to really deal with Pete during the first song, because that's the only place that he, sang or rapped. The rest of the stuff he was, all the talking head stuff went to the production truck. But so I just dealt with mixing the music, the band, and her singing. So whenever there was a musical number, that was me mixing. And whenever it was just people talking, and the comedy stuff, that was the other truck doing that. So it's broken up into two things.
Sure.
It's almost too much for one person to do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Especially live.
Yeah. But I imagine pretty thrilling.
Yeah, it's fun. Broadcast, to be quite honest, that's my favorite thing, because I like doing studio stuff and I like doing live.
Yeah.
And live broadcast especially is like the two skills meeting, kind of, if that makes sense. Just kind of like they meet up, and you can pull from both columns of things.
Yeah, it's like, imagine you can spread, use all the skills that you acquired over the many years of working both lanes. And I was going to ask you that question, if there was a preference between kind of the producing, the mixing, the engineering, do you do some mastering? Is that fair?
No, I the two things I don't do is, I don't really like producing. It's kind of simple. I like mixing, however I'm doing it. It's like, so when I'm mixing a record, I like bringing ideas to the table, but not to be the producer. Like when I worked for different producers, I liked having the safety net of them to be able to say yes or no. So I could kind of take something left or take it right, however I want to do it. And I don't know, I just never had the thing of being the producer per se,
Sure.
And the same with mixing records. It's like mastering engineers have a skill of their own and a totally different mindset. It's like mastering engineers, dubbing engineers, people that dub to movies and things like that, that's a whole different headspace that you have to be in. And it's really not something that if you're good at, you can't be good at all of them because they're just different ways of thinking and different ways of hearing. And there's only like maybe a very few, if any, that can do any of it masterfully.
Like crossover all and, thrive at the top on that. Yeah, I can't think of anybody.
But like certain mastering engineers, like I use one person all the time and she's great. And it's like, I can't do what she does. I don't even know what she does half the time. I don't even want to ask. It's just like, she takes my mix and it just sounds even better. It's like, that's all I want.
Yeah, no, that's great. And Kyle, remind me, we need to get a master on here. We've had we've had the best caterers, the biggest stage designers. We haven't had a mastering engineer in there.
Mastering is like a dark science.
Yeah, they might not want to come on and share, It's like, who knows? But that's great. That's interesting to know that. And then, it's a little bit mysterious to us too. I'm mainly I've been in studios, doing some kind of as the guitar tech guy back in the day for some little recording things, but I never was on that side of the window. And so it's a little bit of a...
You mentioned that, dude?
Yeah.
It's actually like 2 or 3 years late because we used to have some really good mastering engineers in the Bay Area, and a lot of them have moved recently.
It's probably too expensive to live here, man.
Just saying. It was a weird downfall the other day looking at like, oh, yeah, we could pitch off this mastering engineer, and it's like, nope, she moved. Oh, he moved. Oh, everybody's gone. Gotcha.
We're trying to depopulate California by outpricing everybody. It's a race.
And expensive.
Yeah, it's just, you know what I mean? It's like, what happened this month? The rent went up, it's just a thing. I don't even know what to say, especially up in the Bay Area. It's just how it is. It's just a part of it. Josh, I got to ask you about, I mentioned that I was going to do this in the intro, and I am truly fascinated. I love this artist. It's crazy. And I thought I read something, and I need you just to tell me. Tracy Bonham. Early Tracy Bonham, Mother, that whole album, Navy Bean, all that. Oh my God, dude, I can play that. There's not a lot of albums in the world that you can just really play every song straight through, clean the house, you're singing along, every lick, everywhere. It's that album is so insane. Tell me about hanging out with Tracy Bonham, working in that world. I think you might have even had an even closer relationship than that.
Yeah, well, Tracy's a good friend. Well, I haven't seen her in a long time, but we were really good friends. And she came in. How did that work? Okay, I remember. Our drummer was away, and we hired a drummer to come in and play on an Elevator Drop song. And in exchange, he said, "Oh, my girlfriend, she's just started to write songs, and she plays in this cover band at this Chinese restaurant up on Route 1. You got to go check her out." And I remember we went up to this, I forget if it was Wei-Lu's or something, on some Polynesian restaurant, and she was singing with a big "We Take Request" signs blinking behind her. And
That's awesome.
I was like, yeah, let's bring her in after hours. We had this deal with a studio where we could use it after hours, late at night. And she came in and we recorded a song called Dandelion, I think. And Mother, I think maybe Riebling had done before us, Scott Riebling. But so we took those demos, and at the same time, I had started a record label called Curve of the Earth right next door to the studio with the owner of the studio. And they were putting out an all-female compilation. And I remember, I think we had to bump somebody off of that to get her. I said, "You got to get this song on here." And we bumped somebody, got her on there, and then it sort of blew up at radio at BCN. And then it was at that period of time where people were just throwing money, at artists. It was the 90s,
came out in, yeah.
It's like, how much do you want?
Yeah.
So she just blew up. There was a bidding war, and then she signed to Island, and Paul and I did. They told us, we weren't a big enough name to do the record, so they gave us the EP. They wanted her to look indie rock, so they were going to put this indie rock EP out on Cherry Disc. So we did that at a studio called Cortland, and then we kept in touch over the years after that. But she kind of just blew up after that with her video and Mother. And
Sure.
Very super talented. Very. She would come up with the most interesting violin lines. We used to use her on records to play violin a lot.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people that didn't get to see her or see her, different incarnations in video, know that some of those wailing notes were coming off a violin, that she was murdering it. Like, yeah, what an exciting performer. I mean, to see live, it was an extraordinary woman, artist and human being. And that album comes out every so often in my rotation, and you just let it go. And people, if you don't know that, I got to sell this one real quick. If you don't know the Tracy Bonham album with Mother, Navy Bean, it's literally a beginning to end album that is sick. It is extraordinary, and you should check it out. It's just a little shout out to the fact. But am I wrong? Were you dating Tracy Bonham?
No, we never dated. She always had a boyfriend, and no, we were just good friends.
Okay, I don't know. I thought I read that, and I was like, oh, that mad dog killer. Yeah. You did what? So, we mentioned how Paul, and there's no way to not say your brother's a friggin' badass in the IU engineering department. He kills it live, and his accomplishments and the recorded medium is vast and enormous. But I know that, Josh, you get behind the board every so often and make pretty sounds happen. What's up with that? Is it kind of something that I'll shoot? Do you get any tips from Paul? What's the magic there?
I kind of learned the hard way. I would, I made a deal with that same studio to, clean the toilets and sweep the floors for late night studio time, and I just kind of learned on my own. And then, years later, Paul would give me a tip or two here and there. But so we wound up sort of developed, like, Paul's sort of the Bob Clearmountain, and I'm more into like the Danny Lanois, Brian Eno sort of end of engineering, like totally different styles.
Well, he has a more unique way of doing what he does, and I think early on I was like, I don't want to interrupt that because it's different than I was doing. Like, why have two people be the same?
Well, it was perfect the way he just described it with the Daniel Lanois and the Brian Eno comparison
exactly.
to what you do. It's so perfect. That drew such a picture for me. Like, in my mind, I could see exactly what that meant. And so, I get it. And right, I'm very different from my brother, and that's perfect.
The real magic happens though when I track stuff and then Paul mixes it. When you get the two of them together, for me, that's like the perfect combination.
Well, sweet spots in our thing, and what your brother does for cleaning stuff up is, the space that you create. I would listen to your stuff, a batch of it. Pink's particularly interesting to me, and it surprises me. I won't lie to you about that. I'm kind of a hard music guy, but I love it all. Joe Jackson's one of my favorites, Chris Isaac, but most of the time it's hard-driven stuff. And Pink, man, she brings it. And some of your mixes, dude, because the people she plays with kill it. Like, her drummer, her guitarist, those guys would bring it. And you create a space between that. It's really pretty, dude. Like, I got hats off on that. Hoobastank, some of the work you do with those guys, like, that's
I love those dudes.
Yeah, right? I mean, how could you not be in love in that work environment with that, that source material? But what's you did with it is
I mixed a live thing for them, like, way back in like 2001 or 2002, because I knew their A&R guy at the time, and they just put out like a little live EP. And then, I moved on, did what I ended up doing. And then, like, in 2011, my manager gets a thing saying, hey, they want Joe Barisi, who he manages also. And they wanted to have him do a song. And my manager calls me up and he's like, hey, Joe doesn't want to do this, but do you want to take a stab at this? And I'm like, oh yeah, I love these guys. So I did a mix, and then I went to Australia for a tour. So I didn't think anything of it. I came back and they're like, they want to meet with you. Your mix destroyed everybody else. Just because they had a little sheet of what they wanted, and they wanted not, like, they love all their previous records. And they were basically saying, we don't want what we've already done. We've already done that. We've gone down that route. We want to try something a little more nasty, a little more rock, a little more, like, they had all these different kinds of explanations. And I was just like, okay. And I just kind of went for it on it, and ended up doing the last 2 records with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're extraordinary accomplishments in recording. Yeah, a lot of fun. I mean, but the vast arc of your career is insane. And I really don't say that often, and I don't have cause to, but it's really an impressive array of American entertainers and beyond. And it's really, I think the most kind of startling thing for me, and I think it's because, like what you said, loving what you do and getting put in a box. I know there's a lot of engineers that are known, they're the hard rock guys. They're it's like Davey Morgan, Davey's gonna do Steely Dan, he's gonna do James Taylor, that's Paul Simon. He kills in that. That's him. That's Dave. But you're just like limitless, dude. Like it's hard to explain this. Really, it's extraordinary. And some of these have been really just exceptional. Like the Jonas Brothers. Now, I got no love. I'm not gonna play. But what they do when you listen to it, they're good at what they do. They build great songs and they sound amazing. I've never heard them not sound just polished, produced, killer. And that turns out a lot of that has to do with you too. Like, what's it like to work with a band on that level? I don't understand the pop world that well. Help me.
I mean, they're kind of pop, but they're a little anomaly in a way because they're kind of rock guys too. And the producer that did the records that I did, John Fields, is just an amazing talent in his own right. Like that guy can play any instrument, it's just, he's insane. And
he's worked with everybody too, Paul Westenberg, Switchfoot. I mean, right? I mean, yeah. Yep. So that it seems like a little bit of a weird fit to me as well.
And he always brings something that he pushes those guys to the limit. Of like what they can do, take their ideas. Like even when him and I did the Nick Jonas Administration record, which was with the New Power Generation guys playing with Sonny Thompson and Michael Barbiero. It's like, I mean, that was Sonny Thompson. Michael
Bland,
Tommy, Tommy Barbaro,
super group,
just all great people and amazing players. And we did 4 songs a day. Nick would bring in an idea, and everybody would run with it. And because they're so high in their abilities, it would just lift Nick up, and Nick would challenge him in a way that he'd meet the challenge. And the kid was 16 years old, and just like
wow.
Being challenged by these guys. We did 4 songs a day. We were done in 4 days. And then we spent another 4 days just mixing. We booked 20 days. We didn't plan on being done that fast. And we finished up, and the record took 8 days to make.
That is really churning it out. That's like getting in the pocket and just knocking it right out of the park. Yeah. I mean, again, I would have limited studio experience, but it didn't go like that.
It's just like Nick would bring a song in the morning, an idea. They would all sit around, work on it for like half an hour, 40 minutes. And then we put down a couple of takes, put down an overdub or 2. And then John would sit, we'd do like 2 songs basically of music. And then we take a break, and then John would sit with Nick for about an hour. They track some vocals. And then we move on, do 2 more songs, and then some more vocals. And 4 days, we're just done with 12 songs.
That's extraordinary. That kind of output is extraordinary, efficient, and amazing. Yeah, that doesn't happen every day. It must have been a lot of fun to be a part of. And obviously, they blew right the hell up and ruled the world for however long, and have had many incarnations and are very, very talented young men. No 2 ways about that.
Another 3 brothers, too. It's like
yeah, and then somehow they're all still alive. I mean, you got to give them credit for that. They haven't killed each other. It's a thing. It's amazing. Josh, you gotta help me. You have a side project called Garvey J, and I want you to tell us about it. Help me explain it. It's super cool, and where the people can get their ears on it.
Oh, wow. Okay. So Garvey J was something I did a long time, like 2007 through 2012, I think. And then not much of it actually ever got released. There's only a couple songs that wound up on Bandcamp. And there's a video for a song called War Is Over that actually I'm kind of psyched about, because it was done by these guys at MIT with this huge model set and robotic arms and stuff. But after that, I wound up forming another band called Shadow Party that was out of with a friend of mine he plays in the band New Order, and so it was guys from New Order and us, and Nick McCabe from the Verve played on it, and Denise Johnson, rest her soul. I mean, that to me, with the peak of the whole thing was being in the presence of Denise Johnson. Oh my God,
name dropping like a crazy man right now.
She's
That's awesome.
a great person, a great
Big name.
Yeah.
All right. So you hang out with really cool people. I get it, but the music was beautiful.
But to answer your question, the Garbage A thing was a short-lived sort of. That was a project that I was rocking a acoustic 12-string through like 2 amps. That was the whole premise, you know.
I would have loved to hear that.
It was an experiment, yeah.
Yeah, I would have loved to hear that. Yeah, I'm imagining it in many different ways. Kind of a cacophony, kind of a beautiful wash of, it could have been, should have been a lot of fun. I also have to, what inspired you to pick up a guitar? I mean, you know, was it Jimmy? Was it James? Was it Chuck?
Definitely. Well, 2 people, Jimi Hendrix and Paul, actually. I picked up guitar at 7 or 8, and they kicked me out of class because my hands were too small at the time. And then I went home and I smashed the guitar to bits. Oh. And then, do you remember that, Paul? The acoustic we had? And then, and I didn't pick up a guitar again until I was, 12, 13. Paul had started playing bass, and then he started playing guitar and
cello first.
Cello. And then when he wasn't home, I'd sneak into his room and start playing Kink songs on his guitar. You really got me. You really got me. Because that's all I could play at the time.
That's a good guitar, buddy.
Better guitar player than me. Way better.
I don't know about that, man. And you're a good guitar player.
But you got a unique thing, like a real.
He's got his own style, his own sound.
I still don't know what I'm doing. I'm completely faking it, but.
You know, I always thought that about The Edge, and he still sells billion albums a year. You know?
Well, here, I'll tell you a secret. I mean, who was the best guitar player for rock music? Eddie Van Halen.
Oh, for selling it almost, yeah.
And we were in the studio, it was funny because John Shanks, the producer, asked him, like, what's that chord you're playing? And Ed goes, I don't know what it is. It just sounds good.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's a perfect answer. I would have said Eddie Cochran or Elvis Costello, but I don't know. I'm punk that way.
But yeah,
you know, but yeah, it's a trick question, right? Because you could take it from the stylings of Satriani or Vi or, you know, Tony Iommi. I mean, what is your vibe with the guitar? You know, that's the beauty of the instrument. But you're not wrong about Eddie Van Halen.
I have a funny story about that.
Tell me.
I started when I was younger figuring out all the Vi solos. I could play Steve Vai, I could play Stevie Ray Vaughan, I could play Hendrix, and I was figuring them out note for note, and I was shredding. I was in my room, and it was ridiculous. I had a half stack, and then I joined a band, and I realized I couldn't play with a band at all. Like I just couldn't keep time, and I couldn't play chords.
Guitar Center thing.
Yeah. And so what I did was I took my guitar and I jacked the action up like 1.5 inches on it.
Okay.
So that you could only play like D, G, E, and A down at the nut, and you couldn't solo at all. So
he broke his guitar. So
I forcefully, you know, just for years. That was Backstroke to Cuba, a band I was in the 80s, and that's all I did was just play chords, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know,
we're an amazing sounding band. Like they made my life easy mixing them because I mixed them for front of house, and it was just like I could create these really beautiful landscapes with reverbs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's just because they were so good and their sounds were so good on stage, and the singer was really good, and Josh had great guitar sounds, and it's like we'd go play a little club, and I'd bring in some reverbs and delays and stuff, and because the source was already good, it would make me look like I was a genius, you know. It's like, and it'd be awesome because we play these clubs and it'd sound like arenas because of the use of reverb and creating environments and stuff like that.
And then an amazing source.
The night before we were going to get signed, the singer went on his front lawn and burned all of our master tapes and became born again Christian.
Oh man, what? No.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of those stories.
Oh, that reminds me of like Jellyfish, one of the most amazing bands I've ever heard. And they just disappeared because the singer just was done. And it was like 2 albums of the most kick-ass, wonderful,
great.
sweet
But
music.
you know what? Speaking of Beck, you have
Jellyfish
two
rule.
guys from Jellyfish and Beck.
Yeah.
And one day I was at rehearsal with those two, and then I mixed something for Andy that night. So it's like I got to work with Jellyfish, but like separately in one day.
So wait a minute. So I thought Andy was like, he didn't play around, like he was out of the mix, out of the game. He didn't.
No, he does music for cartoons and Japanese stuff.
Oh,
It's
that's
like,
great. I'm
he's
glad.
insane how good he is.
I didn't have the information. I think our minds run wild with this because I was out with them in the first album, and that was like such a bizarre, insane, out of nowhere, like, oh my God, that's musical love right there. It's just like.
Well, what's funny is Josh and I turned on to them by accident because our father had a company, and a woman that worked for his company, her husband was the record rep for New England for the same record label, this guy Paul Calabretta, and he since passed away, rest his soul. But he took us to go see Jelly. He's like, "Oh, you want to see this cool band?" And it's like our minds were blown seeing that. It was like
they're all on the front line. He's playing drums, standing up, right? It's like,
it's like that's the first time I've seen that, other than like the Stray Cats. Which,
well, that's a good one. Yeah, but but he wasn't singing. Okay,
no,
and he was singing.
But this, he's singing and he's playing drums.
Yeah, left-handed. I think he was playing. If I remember correctly, it was a phenomenal thing to see.
Yeah, because he went. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was. I mean, that is some like near Beach Boy-esque shit, but for that time.
And he wasn't playing easy drum beats either.
No, the time on that stuff. And then the follow-up album with Spilt Milk was like, they ratcheted it up a little bit. You could feel there was a little more angst in the vibe in the room. And if you look at that inside photo on the CD, and that's why I miss CDs and shit, it's like this massive shot of this studio that's got every conceivable instrument all the way around the walls of the interior of the studio, and then you listen to the album, you hear they went for it. They tried to jam every one of those in there, and somehow it's not too busy and it works. And it's just like some of these albums, these songs, like I've like this is some incredible shit. Like I cannot. They were always underrated. I'm sorry we got on this side, but I think they're worth it. I mean, Jellyfish. If you don't know, it's like Tracy Bonham, but in a weird way, even better because it is so much more universal and extraordinary. It's just a document to what you can do with great production, like really talented guys with a little bit of angst in the room, and it was extraordinary, absolutely wonderful. Sorry about that derail there, but check out Jellyfish, people. Paul, I got to ask you. So we talked a lot about you've done amazing things and the recorded. I don't want to linger there. You've killed it in the recorded medium, but you're known for going out and putting on a good show, buddy. Like being out front and making it sound real pretty. I know you've worked with St. Vincent, and now, dude, what? St. Vincent is like, she's some next level shit. I took me a few views on that one to figure out what was going on there. Extraordinarily talented woman, like crazy, and like a weird, like kind of Madonna-esque sensibility about like bringing kind of style into and all the stage show and the extraordinary. What's it like with working with St. Vincent? Is that a challenge? Is that fun for you?
She's awesome. Now I didn't tour with her, but I do all of her broadcast stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like stuff when she plays on TV, I'll
Saturday Night Live and that type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Jay Rigby's been mixing her live, and he's been killing it every time. It just sounds insane.
Yeah, she's amazing.
And it has Jason Faulkner, speaking of Jellyfish, playing guitar in her live band.
That's amazing. Wonderful.
Yeah. See how it all ties together? It's like
I love the thought of that a guy like that was that competent, that talented, and that creative, that he didn't just toddle off into, we're being a grocery clerk, that he's still playing, he's bringing the talent and the love. I love that. I love that he's making a living.
I don't think Jason knows what else to do. Jason can only play.
Oh, come on. Like, do you know what else to do? Where will you be now? Where are you going to go? Come on. Okay, I'm taking all your toys away. What are you going to do next? Stop.
Paul already did the grocery clerk thing.
Yeah, I was a grocery clerk in high school.
Well, we had all that in our beginnings, right? We all came up somewhere. But, at some point you fell in love with pushing gear and playing with knobs, it's like, dang, it's like, this is real. And so I think we could say that for all of us in this game in many ways. I mean, I think this is the only job we can do at this point. And I love it. I'm stuck and I'm cool with it.
Same here.
Right on, buddy. Yeah, I mean, I had some notes on John Fields. I was looking at his credits and the work you guys have done together. It's clear you've had a little bit of a love affair and making music happen. There's no doubt about that. I mentioned some of the, Selena Gomez. Selena Gomez, dude. I mean, right? I don't know a lot, but I know that Selena Gomez killed it, and she's like an amazing talent. Yeah, you guys get to work with some amazing people. Demi Lovato. I mean, these are huge artists, a little bit outside my wheelhouse, so I can't speak much to it, but I know what the people think, and it's got to be a huge honor to work on those albums.
Oh no, it's great. Working with John's just the best,
Yeah, I mean,
the most fun I think we had was doing the Switchfoot record though. He did the
people love that album.
He did the big Switchfoot record before I met him, and then we did a Switchfoot record about 4 years ago now, 5 years ago. I think it was 4 years ago. Maybe 6. I don't know. I lost track. But
you've been busy, buddy.
I mean, it was one of my favorite records I've done. It's like just so unique and cool, and the guys play well, they sing well. It's fun when it's all comes together.
Oh, yeah, no, it's magic, I think, in many ways. It's incredible what we can do nowadays. It was always incredible. I mean, if you go back to Frampton Comes Alive, we were killing it for a while now. It's not like we haven't been recording some pretty stuff. Or, the Cars' first album, for example, just immaculate. But, Josh, I got to ask you, what's going on with Devo? I mean, can we get an update? Can we hear it here first or whatever? Is there some new music in the works? You guys planning on coming out and playing live for the people? What's the plans for Devo, if you can say?
I believe we have, 4 shows coming up, Paul? In May.
There's Cruel
World with Morrissey. I'm looking forward to that.
Like every 80s band you can imagine.
Yeah. And then
I'll look that up.
Yeah. The Tony Hawk show just got announced in Vegas.
And the
I don't really
makeup for the one that got canceled last year.
Right, and then New York, yeah.
Yeah, it's like on Pier 17 in New York.
Yeah, that's a fun spot, definitely. A little hard for you, Paul. You're going to be working your ass off, but I think he's going to go out and just kill it.
It's got an Anya rig, so
sweet on. Well, I got one right behind me. This is Tom Petty's thing. This is Scoville's rig, more or less. We've done a million things with it. Just had it out for Maroon 5, but regardless.
Well, Josh and I grew up like 2 towns away from EAW.
It's a little bit of a sweet spot, right? It
takes me like 25 minutes to get to Whitensville,
Massachusetts. So, yeah, no, it's one of my. I don't have it back there. Well, okay, I have it back there for 2 reasons. It's really unique looking, right? It's crazy looking rig. It's got wicked history. There's not a lot of them, and it does special things. Now it's a super challenging rig for like the guy off the street. It's that there's some tricky networking issues and stuff, but it's one of those rare guys that you can actually make it do what you need it to do. Like you wanted to drop somewhere, you needed to go, there's coverage there. I mean, the mitigation values on this thing is crazy. And it's also got the weird bonus that you actually don't need subs with the thing. We bring them, but you don't need them. They drop to 30, and it's an unusual box. 22 drivers in the thing, 22 DSP. It's each cabinet. I got 48 of them.
Oh, the technology is insane.
It's crazy.
And it's really just the start. It's like it can only get better from that point. You know what I mean? It's just to be amazing, and it's just the beginning. Really.
Martin did a thing, and it was similar but less successful, and kind of was hard and clunky. But this is for the second shot out the cannon. It's pretty accurate, and as you spend the time with the training on it, you can do magic stuff. You really can. It's really. I'm not just saying it because it's behind me. I have it because I love it, and I got love for the AW company and their gear. It's the 750s, the 850s. That's kind of the sweet spot coming up, and it's like, come on.
I grew up on 550s.
Don't see. He just tried to old man me. All right, I get it. All right, you've seen. I'm new to the game. Only 30 years. Okay, you've been killing it now, dude. Like your record speaks for itself. And again, so it sounds like you got a little love and experience with the AW company too. So I'm super down with. I'm not taking money from anybody, but I'm super down with honoring what I live in. So yeah, it's just good gear. So Josh. First of all, I love that when you said the 2 shows you got coming up, it was perfect because it sums up Devo so much for me. I love 80s music. I'm from the 80s, man. You know, I wasn't always a punk rocker. It was the second half of my life. And all the time, there's Berlin in there killing it. Like, and I said, it was a big Durant. I mean, like Tuesday, Talk, fucking Big Country. It just goes on and on and on. The list is endless. It's crazy. That was such a magical time for music. But there was a lot of different shit going on, and they had different labels and shit. You just said you're going to go do this big 80s show. I bet you're Howard Jones and like all the badasses from that time that were killing it, Josh. You can cover that base and then go to the Cool Kids party over at Tony Hawk and bring it with equal like credibility and just cover that base so perfectly. Like headlining over Mudhoney. A lot of people don't want to go on after Mudhoney. I'm just going to tell you. And then Devo were like, they smacked him around like little bitches. Like it was awesome. Like this is a thing, man. You know, to bring it that hard, like, and you'd think it's a kind of they have like Devo kill live, dude. Like it's a total awesome thing to see. So we're super excited to hear that you're going out and playing. Got some gigs coming up. When you're in my neighborhood, please reach out. And I don't want in for free or nothing. I'll try to supply some wireless or something so I can get in the back door. But I'd love to come and see Devo. Again, they're just a magical band. I got to ask your brother about Paul. I got to ask you about Encore Studios. I mean, damn, I'm looking at it. It's beautiful. It's a really gorgeous spot. I know you've done a lot of magic there. Is this your spot?
No, well, now this is in my pool house now. I moved from there. I was there from 2006, 7-ish till 2015, maybe 14, 15, somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. And then I just moved from there. But those guys were great. It was a great spot to have. But then when I got this house, I had this pool house in the back, and I just decided, well, I'm just going to build it in the backyard, and then I can work whenever I need to. I don't have to get into someone else's building. Even though I had keys to get in and out, it was still like a 10-minute, 15-minute drive on the other side of where I am here. This way, I just walk to the backyard. I got a pool, so if bands come over, the lounge is a pool. Dude. You can't beat that.
I just think I heard you say, living the dream over here, buddy. That's what I'm pretty sure I heard.
Trying to. It's just been cold.
He's got the pool.
It's warm today, but like last week, it was freezing out.
Oh, I know, yeah. California's been a little wacky lately, but it's, we're still blessed to be in this area. Are you in Cali? Am I?
Yeah, but it's lookalike.
All right, cool. Oh, yeah, beautiful. Great.
But it's awesome to have it in the backyard because then I can work. Like after we're done with this, I have to look at something someone wanted me to check out that I mixed for a movie, and they finally got the finals of the movie. And there's this one little part that they're like, "Can you check this and make sure this is right?" Because I think it got messed up in post somewhere, but I can at least check it out. And if someone wants me to make a change late at night, I'll just pop out here and do it. It's not that hard to do.
Yeah, it sounds
Otherwise, when it was at another place, I'd have to wait till the next day and then drive over there. And the other thing over there was just the other two rooms were just getting louder and louder with, nothing against hip hop music, but it's like you can't control 40 hertz and 30 hertz. It just goes
comes through, huh? Yeah. Omnidirectional waves, they have a way about them.
Yeah. And they were just getting louder and louder and louder. And it was like, I like to mix quiet. So it was making me turn things up, and it was kind of making me not mix as balanced as I wanted to be.
Oh man.
So it was time to move, but the people there were sweet. They were so nice. It was great having that room, And
I know you accomplished a lot of great shit there, but I'm glad that you landed well, because it looks like what you're doing up there is kind of sweet setup as well.
Yeah, it's fun. It's nice having somewhere you just can go hang out. I mean, I can mix and then go take a ride, come back and work on a mix. I can go eat, come back, go watch some TV, pop back. Like I don't have to, if I get the work done in time, it doesn't, I can be more creative if I get away from it sometimes, It's like anything. Sure. If you sit there for 16 hours listening to the same song, you kind of lose perspective.
Oh, I can totally imagine. But at the same time, you got the ultimate man cave. I mean, it's
yeah, exactly.
So there's that. So yeah, but great. I'm glad that's perfect. And one of these days I got to walk in there and check that out, because it looks really exciting.
Yeah, if you're in LA, come on down.
All kinds of fun stuff lingering. Oh my goodness. Josh, I got to ask you about a band that you worked with. I think somewhat underknown and underrated, crazy band, trippy band. There was a band called the Elevator Drops, and I could go into some stuff about I know that they would sometimes hand out white jumpsuits, paper jumpsuits, because to break up. Right? You got to explain this to me, because this was a good band. And I know it was
This could be a whole show and it's on.
Well, yeah, but I know it's something that's close to his heart. He spent like 10 years doing a final mix on, I guess, some work that he had from them, and so it's an interesting story. Tell us about it.
Oh, where to start? The Elevator Drops was an interesting experiment in sort of Dadaism. We were in a way kind of had similar beginnings to Devo. Like that. It was more about the marketing of the band, and the promotion and all that was as much an art as the music. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times it was a lot of guerrilla marketing, and because it came from that label. We were on the one Tracy was on. Mm-hmm. And we wound up just rubbing against every grain we could find in our town.
That sounds pretty punk rock, actually.
Yeah, we became like one of the most hated and one of the most loved bands at the same time, to the point where now it's like, maybe I'm paranoid, but it's really obvious that we've been erased from Boston rock history. Like, we are not mentioned in any article, any book. Nobody. It's like blackout, because we weren't part of the certain scenes that were kind of circled around other studios. It seemed like there were different scenes around different studios in Boston. Yeah. And sure. Yeah, it was an interesting band. It was very theatrical. We started out playing the regular rock clubs, and then we decided that we didn't want to be playing in front of people who were comfortable in a room that they're used to. So we wound up kind of setting up our home base out of a place called Jacques, which was it's like one of the oldest drag bars in the red light district in Boston. And I became friends with the owner. He kind of took me under his wing and said that we could run a club out of there, which we did. And that was the peak. That was the best time. We got signed out of there and started a whole little scene, like an underground scene. And yeah, it was pretty punk rock. I mean, with the stuff that we got up to.
You toured with everybody.
What's that?
You toured with so many bands.
Yeah, we toured with Echo and the Bunnymen and Blur. Blur, we got kicked off that tour. Pulp.
Sick.
That's awesome. The Blur are known to kind of cause a stir themselves.
Yeah,
so
I want to know how you
kicked off
got
a Blur
kicked
tour.
off
It was
that.
kind of awesome.
We were on Garbage's first tour.
We came out with the Blur thing. It was their first gig, and we were supposed to do a bunch of shows with them. And we came out with a light-up Oasis kick drum.
Because Blur and Oasis hate each other, dude. That's the joke.
and so it's flashing on and off Oasis as we're playing. Awesome. And then I think while they were playing, one of our guys was out there plastering their tour bus with Oasis bumper stickers.
You guys, there's a total finger in their eye, like, fuck you. That's awesome, dude.
And to be fair, they were not very friendly to us to begin with, so we kind of were like,
guys, come on, it's a day or no. I mean, Blur kick ass.
But on the flip side, because we did that, we wound up, because we got kicked off of that, we wound up on the Pulp tour, and those guys were fantastic. I mean, Jarvis was very nice to us, and we did a whole bunch of dates through Canada, I think, with them. And then, we went with Garbage on their first tour as they were blowing up,
That's pretty cool. Bush Vig.
And then
Charlie Manson, yeah.
And then it started going down from there. Then it was like Impotent Sea Snakes, and like the label that we wound up getting on, like they didn't know what to do with us. And they were like sending us all these like latex S&M magazines. We want you guys to dress like this because this is really weird. And we're like, what? It was it was a downhill slide from there. Long story, but
fun records to make, though. We had a good time.
We had a great time. I'm very proud of the Elevator Drops, especially live. The records were great, but the band was a lot how would you describe it live compared to the records, Paul? Just
it was
more
like
nasty.
steroids. Yeah, just more in your face. But sonically, it was like over the top. I used every trick in the book with the PA. Like I just we'd open up for bands and then they would just get mad. Like one artist one time wanted me to stop using my effects rack.
Oh, I remember.
I think it was jealous that feels mad.
Yeah. Well, the headlining engineer was an old friend of mine who he gets very jealous. He was like,
"It's a
do you
competitive
remember
sport, buddy."
Echo and the Bunnymen wanted us to keep our amps, put our amps off stage because they were bigger than
their amps.
That's fucking amazing.
Dude, that rules. So this is the politics and bullshit of rock and roll, but it's precious, man. I love that. It's a very funny fucking memory. That is some Spinal Tap shit right there.
For real.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But thank you for sharing that story. That's wonderful. Paul, what's next for you? What are you doing? I know you're in rehearsals right now with somebody. What are you?
We got Miley on Saturday. We're playing with Green Day at the Crypto Center or whatever the hell it's called now. It's going to be the Staples Center for me always.
Right.
Now it's like the cryptocurrency thing.
I've totally given up on trying to keep up with the names of these places.
Well, at least it stayed Staples Center for like 20 years.
Yeah,
so to their credit. Had a good run.
To their credit. I'm sorry.
There's a place in Massachusetts called Great Woods that's now like been through 20 different names.
I think it's the Bed Bath and Beyond Center now or something.
It's awesome. Really. I mean, he's not even kidding.
I know, but it's perfect. Come on, Stay Free Center. Awesome.
Where are you playing? Somewhere.
And then Miley has we're doing all the Lollapaloozas down in South America.
Oh man, that's gonna be insane.
Yeah, so we're doing a bunch. So we got like 5 or 6 gigs down there.
Yeah.
And then come back, and then she's gonna finish up, working on this record that she's working on.
Okay, so basically living the rock and roll dream, working some of the biggest shows in the world. Okay, yeah, I get it. That's super fun. It sucks being you. That rules, brother. I am so glad you're at the height of your game and you're working with the biggest rock stars.
But you never know. It could all end tomorrow.
Well, that's why you just keep fighting the fight and killing it. I mean, your music, your work speaks for itself, buddy. So you don't have to say nothing, but right? I mean, goddamn. Those shows, I don't think people understand that aren't in the game. Those South American shows, dude, they're off the chain. Like, they're crazy big. Like, this is some next level shit. And
I mean, 2014, when we went down there with Miley, everywhere we played was a stadium.
Yeah.
It was like 40,000 to 80,000 every night of just kids going off. We played in when we went to the Philippines after that, we played in a parking lot and it had 100,000 people in. Like it was
Brazil pulls that shit off all the time. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and Brazil is insane. Like Sao Paulo.
Yeah.
Rio, it's just out of control.
86,000 people for 2 nights with Jamiroquai that's normal night. That's killing it,
Exactly.
And man, Brazilians, like, it's so different, right? Like what's going on is such a whole, like the way they imbibe music, and especially like a band like Devo or Miley, who fully brings the pop thing, or Jamiroquai, who's just like right in their lane, that whole sound they got. Oh my God, watch 80,000 Brazilians lose their mind is an extraordinary thing, man.
And if you think about, there hasn't been tours down there, obviously, for the last year or 2 years.
Yeah, that's right.
So they're like
pinned up,
so hungry for it.
They're
it's
ready.
Like, they're just gonna go berserk.
I almost feel sorry for somebody going. It's gonna have to be like Metallica go down there, with their fat, massive machine and do what they do. And Greg will go down, and Greg Price is out front for them right now, which he's living it. He's loving it. But
Greg's doing it, not.
No, he took over for Big Mick. He's been doing. You saw that thing they did on Amazon recently, right? That was a huge thing for. That was that was crazy. And I was right up the way at the Chase Center, and he had taken over about a month and a half before that. And been holding it down. And, Greg, he has to get his head around a thing. And he came right out of Alice Cooper for that. And I think Brad took over for the last minute, was doing some Alice Cooper stuff. But, and man, he's just totally Greg Price the shit out of it. It's kind of like when he got in front of Tool. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not kidding. Like, Metallica has a sound, man. Their engineer is like 35 years. And it's Big Mick. It's Big Mick, dude. What are you going to say? And he's a badass, and he's got a sound. He does it away. It's like Nobby with Tool or something. Like, these guys just do their thing.
Right. He's just been there since day one.
Exactly, right? And
there's really only a few engineers like that. And it's like you got Big Mick,
Yeah.
Got Nobby.
That's right.
And then there's Daniel with Coldplay.
Yeah, good point.
Even though it's
yeah.
a different type of music, Daniel's been there since day one. It's like, it's like that's 3 that I can think of that, and the rest.
The U2. Who's the guy that does U2?
U2, obviously Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
He's been there since day one too. It's like, what's that? 4 people now that have been with their bands the entire lives of the band.
It's a very, very rare incarnation. Willie's got loyalty like that, but there's not many other folks out there that are doing it. And then it's the moving target of the game, and there's a lot of hotshots out there, and sometimes stuff changes with companies and changes with gear and blah, blah, blah. But thank God for it. So we got the guys like you and Pooch running around and Tater and, just bringing it hard and changing it up. Oh, now we're going over to Iron Maiden. Oh, this week's ZZ Top. It's like, it's a kind of an odd awesome
what's
thing.
funny with all of us doing it now is like we're like, even when I'm mixing Devo, it's like I hate to say it, but I'm a fan. So it's like,
Fuck yeah.
it brings a different thing to it than just some dude mixing the band as a job. It's like it's another level for us. Like for Pooch, I know mixing Maiden is like a dream come true.
That's the top of it all.
Like he knows the songs better than they do because he's been listening to them probably longer than they have.
Religiously. We all love Maiden. They're one of a kind.
Yeah. So it's like it's funny that guys, around our age is like doing these bands that we grew up listening to that were like amazing. And just even when I was in the studio doing the basic stuff with Van Halen, was like, it was weird every day because I'm like, wait a second, I'd have to go through like at least a 10-minute thing of like, wait, what? Why am I here? Like, wait, this can't be true. I must have died. Like, this must be not really reality. It's like,
pinch me.
I have David Lee Roth standing here and Eddie Van Halen standing here, and it's like, and Wolfie is an amazing talent on his own.
He's
it's
very
like
talented, yes.
And Alex. It's just like, and I'm just standing there and I'm talking to them like
Legends Row.
Yeah, it's just like it just freaked me out. I remember because Wolfie and Eddie play in the control room, so like I would always just have the guitar really loud, and Eddie's like, "Turn down the guitar." I'm like, "I can't. It's Eddie Van Halen." It's just like
that would be wrong.
I just want to hear more of your guitar. He's like, "I can't play with it that loud. Like, turn it down." It's like, and I just want to turn it up because it's.
Because you were fanboying a little bit, let's be honest, and I love that.
Oh yeah,
that's sweet. No,
trying not to, but it can't help it.
Yeah, I'm a little.
And one person that's really good with dealing with that is when I met Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
For my friend Dave.
Oh, he knows. People have been fawning over him for like 40 years.
Well, the thing is, he's the best at he knows you're going to do that.
Yeah.
So he can diffuse it immediately.
That's great.
Like he just has something. I don't even know how he does it.
Yeah.
But within a minute, you feel comfortable and you feel like you're just talking to a buddy.
That's great.
Even though it's a legend, like beyond a legend.
Sure.
So it's like a weird thing that he has a skill to diffuse that. Because he knows that otherwise he just had people going the whole time, and he just starts talking to you like you're on his level, which is not, we're not even close. It's like,
it'd be hard to be Robert Plant, you know what I mean? For being in a legendary band like, Led Zeppelin, that's got to be a full-time job, just trying to just be another human, But I have seen people pull it off in a pretty graceful way. Dave is good this way. Dave Grohl is this, he's really,
he's so down there.
Yeah, dude, he's got that on lock, and a couple of the other newer guys, but our guys are badass in their own right, like Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age. He keeps it pretty real. There's some great rock and roll out there. It's few and far between, it seems like, but there's some really good bands. And Flo and the Machines are about to go out with Bradley again here in a minute, and of course, when they get done with that, he's back out with Motley Crue. So like, there's it's some of it out there, but. You can kind of see where my heart lies, but I love all music, and I feel really lucky for us all to be mixed up in it.
All music is good.
Yeah, we can all agree on that. I guess it was a simplistic closing. Guys, I really appreciate you being here. This is one of my longest shows. I think the only other long show that I've had on this level was with Greg Price, which I've had him on a few times. Well, he's my roommate, but a dear friend. But it was like I was talking to him, and I would tell the guys, and they said, man, it was a long show, And I said, well, yeah, you tell Greg Price at 1 hour and 8 minutes that we don't want to hear the Black Sabbath story. It's like, that's not going to happen. And I feel like that talking to you guys. It's a little bit like, an honor to have you on our show. We really appreciate you coming on and sharing your stuff with us, Josh.
I'm glad to be here.
You,
Yeah,
sir,
thanks, man.
You're just a rock star, and you know that. But it's funny in my lane coming up as a roadie my whole life. Like, yeah, we want to grow up and be just like you. Goddamn, keep up the good work. You kill it. You're amazing at what you do. The catalog proves it. And your brother, it must be as a treat for me. I know my brother's at the top of his game. He's my boss, shit. And but he's actually really great at what he does. And we need him in rock and roll to get what your brother does, what Josh does. He goes on and puts on the big show, and brings it with such a incredibly legendary. And to me, I don't say this lightly, like a national treasure. Like, this is a band that has been doing it and putting it out with consistently. Extraordinary band, owns their own lane in music. And Josh, I got to see you do it, and it's a fascinating thing. And by the way, I'm going to hold you to this. He said something about a red hat. I don't know. I'll trade you. I'll trade you.
Send me your address.
And I'll send you some for what it's worth, some Beyond the Backstage pass swag, some hoodies and stuff. But I'd love to make a swap with you because mine got broken. Thank you guys. Thank you for coming on the show. I won't deny it. I'm a fan of both of you, and it was a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your experiences with my audience. And you guys have a great time.
Thanks for having us. Anytime.
All right. Thank you so much. Good night, guys.
See ya.
What a treat.
Dude, stop. like really, man, I don't mind fanboying right here in a moment like this. I've been in the mix for a long time, and I've been come up with a lot of cool people, the Eddie Moneys and really legendary motherfuckers. But there's people in what we do that are like the dudes that, get pique my interest, like the Scovilles and Buford Jones, or, you know what I mean, right? Some
Totally.
just badasses. And Paul doesn't get any more legendary in this mix. But, Josh, in his own right, think about this. It's a Devo, dude. I don't know if you understand music history, but I think you do.
I do, yeah.
Devo
I
is
love Devo,
like a
man.
legendary
Good shit.
band. You can't say many other bands that have their own lane in music, that own it outright and kick its ass every time. And then you put it, that's the recorded stuff I can put on Spotify. But you go see them live, dude. It was one of the best live bands in the music business. It's super fun. Mark Mothersbaugh is a genius, and what Josh does is an absolute perfect thing. So I can't recommend it enough. It was a great show. I really loved it. Went long. Thank you guys, whoever's been patient enough to hang out. It is my honor to do this. I get so lucky sometimes to have these wonderful people, these talented people on my show. So keep it coming out. We do this every single, how often do we do this, buddy? Every week around Thursday, about 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Who's our guest next week, dude? Is it going to be, it's the great John Ostrin, isn't it?
Yeah, you got the great John. We just filmed it. It came out.
Yeah, John Ostrin is like equally an incredible human being and a dear friend to this whole industry. Van Heflin, I'm playing, Van Halen and all of its glory, many incarnations. Toto, guys, Toto, man. Like, I tuned my PA to that shit. Like, it's awesome. He's an incredible cat, 40 years in the game and a wonderful human being. And we just had a wonderful show with him. I can report that. It was a really smooth, great show. Come in and check it out next week, 7 p.m. We're going to take a little break and hang out with our people and come back the following week with the one and only Dave Morgan, with legendary, well, goddamn, who, James Taylor, Steely Dan, Paul Simon, Jackson Brown. He's one of the most accomplished mix engineers in the world, and I never preview a show 2 weeks out, but like, if you don't show up for Dave Morgan, what? There can't be anything better going on. I'm sorry, it's Dave Morgan, man. What the fuck? Sorry with the cussing. Come see Dave Morgan and us tomorrow. Next week we got John Ostrin. It's going to be a great show. Thank you for showing up. I know there's a million things you could be doing, and you came out and hung out with us. We super appreciate it. You guys have a great night. Until next week, behave, be good to each other.
All right.
Good night.
Send me that address. I'll send you a hat.
All right, thanks, buddy. Thank you. Have
All
a
right,
good
take
night,
care,
pal.
guys.
Good night.
See ya.
Hey, Vince, just so you know, you have color bars.
Hey, Mike.